How we doing, everybody? And welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're coming back. It's a Wednesday. It's a great Wednesday. We're gonna call it a great Wednesday here today. We got lots to get into. Aaron's back tonight. He's been all over the place, gone all over the place. I know, but we had to get him back tonight here. Aaron, how we doing on this Wednesday?
Yeah, pretty good. You know, like you said, just in and out, busy, all that type of stuff. But it's a lot going on. So even since the last time we talked, a lot going on. So ready to get into all of it, really. I mean, you know where to start. I honestly don't even know where to start tonight. That's how much is going on in the sporting world, that is.
Too much going on, right? And somewhat luckily, it's not bad things happening with our own teams at this point. Maybe bad things. I don't know. Depends on what way you want to look at it there. But, I mean, hey, we've seen a lot going on in college basketball right now. The place I want to start, I saw the coolest story. It was Hansel Emanuel. I don't know if anybody out there has seen the story of Hansel Emanuel yet, but I believe – so he plays for Austin Peay. Small, not really relevant college basketball team in the world out there. I mean, it's just a small university. Maybe it's not even small. I don't even know much about Austin Peay. But Hansel Emanuel is on that team there. When he was young, he had a cinder block wall tip over on top of him. Got his left, I believe it's his left arm, if I'm not mistaken. It was his left arm there that he had caught underneath of him. He's got one arm, basically. That's where I'm trying to go with this. He's got one arm there. And he is playing for Austin Peay right now. And this guy's phenomenal. His story is phenomenal. If you guys out there haven't looked this guy up, seen any of the stuff, I was just going through Twitter earlier today, and I saw his highlight tape come across. And, I mean, man, oh, man, he's getting after guys on the defensive end. He got a steal. He took it to the other end, threw the hammer down. Like, this guy you don't want to say he's amputated, right? He's missing a limb. I mean, and you would think, the average person would have given up on a dream like this, but this guy's unreal. I mean, the athleticism that he shows, he's 6'6", 167 pounds, he's a big guy or tall guy, but not a big guy, right? But man, oh man, the way that he plays, you got to love it. So it's just something I wanted to start out with. I don't know, Aaron, have you seen anything on this guy? I mean, right now he's averaging 5 points a game, 6 rebounds per game. 6 rebounds per game. We hear excuses all the time. Well, I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. They out rebound us on this and that and everything in between. And this guy's out here, 6 rebounds per game. He's almost at 2 assists per game. He's shooting 85% from the field, and probably not a whole lot of shots there. But, I mean, this guy's playing fantastic. So, and Aaron's camera's going out on him over there. But, Aaron, if you can still hear me on the backside, have you heard anything about this guy, seen the story?
I have seen, yeah, I saw that yesterday, actually, myself. It is unreal. I will get this audio or this video fixed here in a second for you. But, yeah, it's like, I mean, like you said, I mean, how many people would just throw in the towel? How many people would just say, you know what, I can't do it. Like, this is impossible nearly. And he's, just kind of like a miracle. Like, that is a miracle in itself that he's, I mean, it's mindset, determination, but then like just the ability also. I mean, you have to have obviously ability to do so. So it's just, yeah, it's a great, you can't root against something like that. And like I said, I'll get this video where I have no idea what's going on over here. I mean, we're already having some technical difficulties, but we will fix this here quickly.
He's been gone for a short time. He's been away from the show, and now he can't even figure out how to get his camera going right. That's where we're at right now. That is where we're at, right? It's a struggle. It is a struggle right now, but we'll get her figured out, and we'll keep rolling along here. I want to, sticking with college basketball, because that's where I wanted to get with that. I mean, awesome story there. If you guys out there haven't heard about him, seen that story, just look him up. It is, I mean, just fantastic what he's been doing so far there. But I want to talk a little bit of Badgers men's basketball. They got a big contest coming up on Friday. That's, going to be the telltale sign of where this program's at in this current season with Arizona coming to the Kohl Center. Should be a fantastic game. Sold out crowd. You're going to have a lot of eyes on that game. It's on not national television. I believe it's on Peacock for that, of course, right? It's on Peacock, 8:00. But, a night game, it does get much better than that. It doesn't get much better than that in sold out crowd. You got to love that. So that Arizona game is going to be a huge test for the Badgers. And we're going to get more into that game come Friday here on the show. But the Badgers, 3 commits coming into Madison today here. A pretty good signing class, if you ask me, for this Badger team. They added on 3 guys. Will Garlick, he's out of Middleton, Wisconsin there. Hayden Jones from New Zealand. And then we see Zach Kingsinger. I knew that name was going to eat me up, from De Pere, Wisconsin there. And, I mean, that's the big one, right? Starting with Zach there. He's coming out of De Pere. This guy is ranked 68th right now in ESPN's Top 100 2025 recruiting class. That is, I mean, Badgers, they struggle to get into that top portion there as we lose Aaron off the backside. Hopefully he can get back into here pretty soon. We'll see what happens if Aaron can get back in. But we see Zach coming in there, and I just wanted to go through some of these guys. Look at what they've been doing. I believe here comes Aaron. He's back in. He's back in. Aaron's back in. He's got the arrow figured out. We're good to go. We're good to go there. So we see Zach coming in here, 68th ranked recruit there in that ESPN Top 100. Zach averaged 19 points a game, and I believe I was just looking at 5 rebounds and 3 assists there for De Pere. That was in helping De Pere in that 2022-2023 season to get to the state title game. I had a 30-0 record. He was fantastic for him there, and he actually he made 82 of 193 threes on the season there. That was good for 43% from downtown. This guy can ring it up from downtown. He's a great passer. He's got the ability to score on all 3 levels. The Badgers got a fantastic one in this guy, and I can't wait to see him on campus here come 2025. That is going to be a great ad for Greg Gard and the staff here. And then they also go out and they grab a 7-footer. Like, you love 7-footers. This guy is the guy you want. Will Garlick there, coming from Middleton, Wisconsin, a big man that can score. He's not a 3-point threat yet. Maybe that comes along. He's a mid-range kind of guy underneath the basket. That's where Will kind of sits right now. Currently, that 2021 season for him, he was very little known about this guy yet. He was just getting onto the varsity level. He only played in 5 games. But then you look at the jump he made in 2022. In that 2022-2023 season there, he had 308 points, right? He was fantastic. And then you look at him in that 2023-2024 season. He got a little bit more minutes there. He was getting up. He averaged 16 a game. And then he added 422 points to that total. So within, it's a big milestone to get to 1,000 points in high school basketball. Within 2 seasons, this guy got himself within 300 points of getting to that 1,000 mark. So you got to love that there. And I was just going to mention, I did see Zach's there. He's currently over 1,000-point scorer in the state of Wisconsin. He's actually at 12. He's at 1248 right now. So in 3 seasons, that's unreal. That is unreal. He had in that last season there, he had, I believe, 557 points in total over that season in 28 games played. 28 games. That is unreal. That is, 19 points a game. Wow. Those are some numbers. And you look all over, and ESPN has him ranked as the 68th. And then you look at Rivals, and they have him at 133. And then you look at 24/7 Sports, and they have him at 113. I like ESPN's ranking 68. I'll let's go with me. Let's go with me there. And the hard part is now. So you get all these guys in. I'll mention this quick about Hayden Jones there. He's going from New Zealand. And that has a lot to do with Kirk Penny, now with the Badgers, had some experience overseas, has that connection with that kind of market there. The Badgers, this is their second guy that they brought in from overseas there. So hopefully with Kirk Penny now on the staff, the Badgers have kind of opened up this, international pool of players to come into Madison. That's an interesting thing because there is a lot of international talent. Like, these guys are already playing on national teams. This guy in Hayden Jones, he played on New Zealand's senior national team as a 17-year-old. So, you're talking about a lot of experience already in big games. So that's a great pool to find yourself in if you are the Badgers. And you look at this guy, he came out and flat out said, he has an idea of teams shooting 27 threes per game because that's what he saw over there. Like, it's a big 3-point market over there. So he's used to that kind of game, which is what, the Badgers are kind of trending towards, what the NCAA is trending towards. So this guy has the ability to shoot at all 3 levels. He's got the ability to score. He's got some size to him. This could be a sneaky good ad for the Badgers. So a pretty good recruiting class, right? But now you got to find a way to keep these guys in-house. That's the toughest part now. because with the transfer portal, with all this other stuff going on around college basketball, now you got to keep these guys in. This, you bring in 3 recruits, but that doesn't mean that Greg Gard doesn't go out in the transfer portal in the offseason and go grab a guy or two. It's all those little things right now. But if these guys stay, if Zach stays and you get, Will Garlick there to stay from Middleton, I love it. I honestly like the recruiting class. You got a 7-footer. You need some size if you're going to play in the Big Ten. You got a guy who can shoot the 3 lights out. Like we just said, 43% from downtown. I know it's high school level versus college level. They're going to scheme for you different. But a guy that can hit at that percentage of a clip, I will take that to the bank. Like that is, wow. You don't see many guys like that come into the Kohl Center. You don't see many guys like that step in where you could see a guy like him influencing this Badger team year one. With free tag in there already. And then with some of these other guys in that backcourt, you could see him, Blackwell, instantly making an impact, which is something that the Badgers aren't used to. The Badgers are a team that's built off of growth. And now we're bringing in a guy like this where it's like, hey, this guy can shoot it. He's got that ability already. If he shows it, he might be able to play off the bat, which is something that we're not used to. But I can't wait to see these guys step on the floor for the Badgers there. So should be some good stuff there. I mentioned that Arizona game coming up. That's a big one. I mean, you got their top 10 team. I believe I was just going to pull that up real fast because I didn't want to be wrong when I said it. I think they moved up to like number 8 or 9.
Number 9. Yeah. Currently. Yeah. On ESPN.
Well, there you go. You have the number 9 team in the nation coming to town. The thing with this game against Arizona, and I know we're going to get more into it when we get to Friday here on the show. Well, technically the game's on Friday, so we're going to be previewing it right before the game starts there. But, the thing about this Arizona team is you look at the two, and I'm not saying that Arizona isn't good. So don't tell me, don't quote me that I'm saying, this Arizona team isn't good. But they've played Canisius so far, and they played Old Dominion. I don't even know if I said Canisius. That sounds right. Canisius there, and Old Dominion. So, and we have a comment in there, and this is what I was just alluding to there. Brantley Gilbert, 29. Brantley Gilbert, 29.
Yeah, that's a country star, is it not?
That's a country star. We got a country.
We're going places.
I don't know if it's the country star in there, but so so he says, how do you think the Badgers will do against Arizona? Basically. So that's kind of where I'm, we're going to talk about that on Friday there on the show. But I'm looking at this Arizona team, and they haven't been tested yet, right? The Badgers haven't been tested yet, but neither has Arizona. So now you're coming into a sold-out crowd in Madison. It's going to be night. It's going to be a night game. The environment's going to be built up. You hope so, right? It's going to be one of them kind of crowds. Arizona might be walking into one of those troublesome games that you get early on in the season. I'm not saying that on paper or anything like that, Wisconsin is the better team over Arizona, because, I don't want to get too far into the preview because I have nothing to talk about on Friday there, but Arizona's got a lot of size, right? And that could disrupt Wisconsin. Wisconsin's got the ability, just like Arizona, to shoot it from the outside. They get hot. There's so many different variables that are going to play into this game. I like this matchup for Wisconsin. I like this matchup early on. I want to see, because I think I'm going to learn a lot about this Wisconsin team in this game. Maybe they don't win. The odds are probably against them there. I haven't looked at what the percentage is at this point here. They're giving the Badgers a 37% chance to win that game. There isn't a high shot they're going to win this game. But what I want to see in this game is, we've early on here struggled early in games. We've gotten into holes early in games there. I want to see what the Badgers do coming out early. And that's the big thing I'm looking for in this one. So we're going to get more into that game on Friday there. I don't want to get too much into it today here, but I want to let's look at the rankings right now. Let's look at that top 25, see who's all sitting in there. Kansas, number 1 team in the nation right now. Alabama, UConn, Gonzaga, not really anything crazy within that top 4. We see Auburn. We see Duke, who did lose to Kentucky. Gotta love that. I was a happy fan last night. I usually don't cheer for Kentucky. But they're playing Duke last night. So I was all in. On Kentucky. I was like, oh yeah, Pope, go get him, buddy. Yeah, here we go. I was like, I don't even know half the people on this team. We're good. But Duke did drop a game there, but they're sitting at that 6 spot. Iowa State in the 7, Houston in the 8, Arizona in the 9. We have North Carolina in the 10 spot, Tennessee, Baylor, Purdue, Creighton, Marquette, Wisconsin there, Marquette sitting in that 15 spot there. We have Indiana in the 16, Cincinnati sitting in that 17 spot right now. And then we see Arkansas, Kentucky, Florida, Ohio State, St. John's, Texas A&M, Rutgers, and Ole Miss right there. I mean, anything really I don't see anything that really sticks. I mean, it's early, right? There's not much we can say about the rankings there. Anything stick out to you in those rankings so far?
Not really. I mean, North Carolina, they lose to Kansas. So, I mean, yeah, they drop a couple spots down, but you lose to the best team in the nation, obviously, right now. I mean, not going to go as far as to say they're going to be the best team all year, but, you have some instances of that, like Houston, with the one loss already, that type of thing. But not really. I mean, it's I know you're more of a basketball connoisseur than I am, but it is kind of weird seeing Auburn up there a little bit just because it's not like they're a horrible program, but they're not like a staple to be in the top, 15 or whatever. You know what I mean? That's just a little different. But like other than that, it makes sense just about. And we're so early that, things are going to shake up quite a bit, obviously, before March and before the tournament and everything else like that.
Yeah, Auburn brought in some good pieces. They have good pieces returning there from last season. I mean, they just came off that win against Houston, the number 4 team in the country. Auburn's a good team. I mean, they've put together a good team at this point here. They're building off of last year's success into this season here. Last season, they kind of got bounced early in the tournament, so we'll see what happens this year with them. We do have one on the text in line here. I just wanted to pull it up here. Badgers need to come out with more energy against Arizona. They're coming out flat against these lower teams so far. That's 100% the truth. I mean, that's what I'm saying is these slow starts that the Badgers have had so far, against Holy Cross, Montana State, and against App State there. They can't catch themselves in that kind of spot against a team like Arizona. Because if you go down 22-6 or whatever it was, like they did to Holy Cross in that first game, you're not making that comeback against Arizona as easy as what you did against Holy Cross. So I completely agree with that text in there that the Badgers need to come out with a boatload more energy when they come out in this Arizona game. And we also have Brantley Gilbert back there in that comment section. Max Klesman on his 4 assists, 5 steals Sunday was amazing. Need him to do that again. I mean, even scoring the basketball on Sunday, Max Klesman was fantastic. And, the Badgers, they're playing it as Stephen Crowell said, they ride the hot hand, right? They ride the hot hand. Is that going to work against a team like Arizona? I don't know. There's good and bad, right? Teams do that. Teams ride the hot hand. Like, that's not saying you can't ride the hot hand, but you got to almost, against a team like Arizona, yes, if Klesman's hot, you want to get him the basketball, but you got to find ways because they're going to key in on that guy. They're going to start keying in on him. You got to find ways to get contributors in different ways too. Stephen Crowell, or if it's Nolan Winter, whoever it is, somebody else has got to be able to step up in those moments too and be able to help out Klesman or help out Blackwell, whoever it is, to get those guys open. So completely agree there. Max Klesman needs to do that again. I mean, they're going to have basically a whole team effort here, right? They're going to have a whole team effort against a good Arizona team. And we're going to find out what the bench is made of, right? You really are going to learn about depth on the bench, especially when you play good teams like Arizona. You're going to find out who you got, who can score off that bench, who can defend good. I mean, these are going to be some good athletes that you're going to be playing from Arizona. So who's got that ability to step in, guard some of these guys, and give your starters breaks throughout this game? So we'll find out a little bit more. We're going to talk about that game Friday leading up to the Badgers. I believe that's an 8 o'clock tip for that one there. I almost 90% sure that is an 8 o'clock tip. 8 o'clock tip there on Friday from the Kohl Center. I believe it's on Peacock, so that sucks, but whatever. So we'll talk more about that game come Friday here. We'll be earlier than that, so we'll lead you right up into the Badger game and get you all prepped and ready to rock and roll for that one there. And everybody out there in the comments, whatever we're talking about, you can talk about whatever you want. If you want to talk about Packers or anything throughout the show, make sure you're commenting in. Also, you can jump in on the text line there. Text line is located right behind that, right underneath that Q&A symbol there. Text lines at the end there. So make sure you're texting into the show. We love to hear what your thoughts are on anything sports right now. We'll talk about it. We want your voice to be heard out there. So Aaron, I want to talk about the Bucks for a second. I mean, not really, because they kind of stink, but I want to talk about the Bucks for a second there. So got the win. Since last time we talked, they got the win over the Raptors, 99-85. Not a real high scoring game there. I mean, this is like relatively low for what you'd see in an NBA game there. Bucks without Damian Lillard in that one. We see Ryan Rollins and AJ Green step in. And AJ Green in that starting role, I've been vouching for it this whole time. He's been a great shooter for the almost said Badgers, for the Bucks here so far, and stepping him in there. I mean, you need scoring right now. The Bucks are lacking scoring. This was what we needed. We got AJ Green in there. He gives you 12. Ryan Rollins sadly gets hurt. I mean, we put him in there. He does fantastic in his first game as a starting point guard. Gets hurt right now with a little bit of a shoulder problem. So hopefully nothing serious and we get him back soon here. Brook Lopez gives you 13. Giannis with 23. Taurean Prince should not touch the starting lineup. That's just my personal opinion. I would love somebody to argue with me why he should be in the starting lineup at this point. But at this point, this guy stinks. I don't know who needs to hear that, but this guy is not a starter for any basketball team, because if he gives me 9 points a game and a crucial role, down with it. Down with it there. I'd rather have broken ankles Chris Middleton out there at this point than having Taurean Prince, all right? So that's where I'm at. The whole Chris Middleton thing, it's baffling to me. It's honestly baffling. So they asked Doc the other day. They said, hey, was Chris available to do anything today? And Doc goes, no, not that I know of. Back to back, I didn't even check, to be honest. And they said, would you say that he has taken a step back or suffered a setback? No, he's just progressing and going along. I mean, I don't know what the return date was, or if there was one set, and we're going to get him healthy so that when he's ready to go, he's ready to play. And then they asked, speaking to him progressing, it feels like we've been stuck at the same general spot now for the last 2 weeks. So basically, he's like working his way back. We found out nothing about this. What is that is progressing for him? And Doc said, as I've jokingly said a million times, Doc's a nickname. That part's irrelevant to this whole thing. I don't know what he's talking about. He said that the trainers come in and give him the report. I say thank you, and that's it. I check in with Chris and the guys that are injured and see how they're feeling. More human stuff, because Chris wants to play, and he's frustrated that he's not, and that's just how it works for a coach. It's more about the mental stuff than anything else at this point here. So what is going on with Chris Middleton? Can somebody answer that question for me? Like, anybody out there, answer that question for me. What is going on with Chris Middleton? Because at the start of this year, it was like, oh, he hasn't done 5-on-5s yet, but he'll be ready soon. When soon? Like, is soon Christmas? Is soon New Year's? Is soon the NBA playoffs? Like, when is soon to the Milwaukee Bucks? Because my soon is like next week. Like, next week, I'm going to be hearing about Chris Middleton in 5-on-5s. But at this point here, I'm hearing nothing about that. And Doc's so up in the air about what's going on. Dude, you're the head coach of the team. I don't care. Like, you're giving me the most BS answers that you can possibly give me at this point. Tell me for a fact, is Chris Middleton having a setback? Because right now, you cannot tell me that there's not a setback if he was supposed to be ready to go weeks ago. So what is going on? This is just, Aaron, can you just, sense the frustration? Like, this is a guy who, we stink right now. If we had all hands on deck and we stunk, okay, now I have a more realist point, right? But if we had Chris Middleton and we still stink, I'm not saying Chris Middleton is going to save the world, right? But if we had him and we still stink, okay, then it's like, whatever, we just suck. But if Chris Middleton's not even out there, I'm not even getting the full effect of the Bucks at this point.
Well, you're getting the full Doc Rivers experience, right? Like, I cannot.
Oh my Gandhi.
He gets all the credit in the world for Boston, right? And he got a chip, sure. Maybe he got a couple. I can't remember now at this point. It's been an entire lifetime since he's been in Boston, though, right? So no one really cares about that so much anymore. I can't stand Doc as much as I do. Like, I try and pay attention to the NBA as much as I can, but I'm sorry you have to deal with Doc. Like, that's the first thing on this is, like, Doc Rivers is infuriating. I can't stand him. I think he's a subpar coach at best. I'm not a fan. So him giving you BS answers, it was the same thing with him and Ben Simmons going back in Philly. And it was like, the guy gave you nothing. Like, it was just word salads every day. He talks like a politician that's a lifetime politician. Like, it's just like, dude, the guy, he's so frustrating to even hear talk. And then his raspy voice sounded like he's at a concert for 4 hours every single night. I just can't do it. But besides that is, obviously you want to be playing, like, if you're struggling, which obviously you touch on the Bucks are, you want to at least, okay, let's, like you said, let's throw all hands at deck. on deck, I should say. They're 3-8 on the year. Like, if he's 80%, don't you want him out there in limited minutes at least? Like, don't you want something from him? Like, the Bucks are paying him a ton of money and he's not getting any younger. So it's like, okay, if you're worried about injuries, like he could play 15 games and get injured the 15th game. Like, you don't, that whole, like, it reminds me of Kawhi Leonard when it was just like, okay, we're going to play him sometime. We're going to play him, in a couple weeks. Oh, we're going to play him for a couple games. Like, it's just like, that's these guys' job. Like, I'm not saying that Chris Middleton is pulling that type of thing, but like either the organization is doing something or he's not ready to go, but they're not being transparent about it. So that's like, okay, what is it? Like, cough it up. That's like your boss asking you a question and you just going every which way around the question. Like, it's your job to at least give. I'm not saying you got to give the reporters everything, because I see James Franklin never give an actual injury report. It's always like some vague BS that doesn't make any sense. But it's like, come on, at some point, like, just cough something up of value, right? He's just spewing nonsense. And like I said, you could benefit from him being out there. So this whole soon thing, like, give us a timetable, right? Give the Bucks fans, there's people that want to see Chris Middleton play. Like, it's just like, come on, man. Like that's where I'm just like, I put it more on Doc, where it's like, okay, maybe the organization is telling you to say that, but somebody's to blame for, like, the way that they're going about that is very stupid, in my opinion.
It's a disaster. It's a disaster. Like, and you know what? Buck fans are like, let's just fire Doc Rivers. Like, that's going to fix it. It's not going to fix it. It's not going to fix this. You have a roster that's aging. You put yourself in this position by letting Giannis run the show. Giannis is not playing defense like Giannis played in 2020. Like, when we won the championship, Giannis was playing baller defense. We had a great defense, transition buckets. We don't have that anymore. Giannis is scoring. Like, he's scoring at will. Yesterday, or against just a couple days ago, whoever it was, the Raptors, he played good defense. Like, the defense was back. But until that point, I haven't seen it. You get defense. Like, I'm watching this Pistons game right now where the Bucks are losing that too. And Ajax is playing you some good defense. I don't want to see him leave the floor. Like, give me the youth. Give me all the young guys and let them run with this, because this is the most lazy, like, unenergetic basketball team I've ever seen. Like, it's just so much one-on-one. It's just a whole bunch of bull crap. That's all it is a bunch of bull crap thrown onto a basketball court. You know what? The Celtics, everybody might hate the Celtics. Guess what? I enjoy watching the Celtics. That ball zips around at 1,000 miles per hour. Nobody touches it for more than 5 seconds. I love watching the Boston Celtics play the game of basketball. Like, it is fantastic. And then you watch teams like the Bucks where it's stagnant and it just looks like hot, steaming pile of garbage all the time. Like, it just hurts to watch, man. Son of a gun. I got to get off the Bucks. I want to stop talking about this.
I kind of want you to stay on it. You're on a rampage.
I feel like I'm going on a rampage right now. I don't need to be. We did just see beef stew for the Pistons there. Isaiah Stewart. They call him beef stew.
Gotta love that.
He's a hot mess right there. He just got tossed out. He, like, full on grabs Giannis' back of his jersey as he's going up for a layup and just rips him backwards, and he falls on his back. Like, dude,
good move there.
Settle down. But he's been this way all game. Like, watching him, he seems like the guy where they put him out there to try and get underneath the people's skin, because he's been chirping with Giannis. He's been, when Giannis would come down, he's like egging him on to drive at him and stuff like that. So, I mean, just, that's the kind of guy he is, but he gets tossed out. Bucks are still down by 2. It sucks. It sucks right now in Milwaukee. We do have a Bucks thing. Brantley Gilbert, we're going to get to your Juan Soto, talk there. We're going to get to that. But he says they're saying the Bucks will cut Chris Middleton in favor of Rockets $86 million. What do you think about that? They're not. I don't know what that.
The Rockets part of it, right? That's
the Rockets part of it confuses me. I need you to clarify that one for me. I need you to clarify that one on the backside. I see the Chris. The Bucks are looking at getting, cutting ties with Chris Middleton. But what is the Rockets part of it? Because the problem with the Bucks, as we see the Bucks finally take a lead in this one, yay, 85-84 over the Pistons. They suck, but. The problem with the Bucks is they're a second apron team right now, so they can't take on any more money in a trade. They can make a trade, but they can't take on any more money in that trade. So they have to find. I don't even know. They've called in the Brian Windhorst said, as he said, he said that the Bucks have relatively called everybody at this point here to see if they can make a deal. And I don't know what everybody mean, like everybody, like they've called everybody and haven't found anything yet. So we'll see what happens there. He says he's going to look into it. He's going to look into it for us. Thank you there. So we're going to get to that baseball talk there. I want to get to that baseball talk real quick because I did see an interesting one about the Brewers too. I saw an interesting couple things about the Brewers that I wanted to get into here. So right away, I just wanted to mention some of the awards that are out there are waiting on who's going to win them. Jackson Chourio was listed as in the Rookie of the Year conversation all season long, right? After that, amazing second half he had. He's up for Rookie of the Year right now. And then Pat Murphy, I don't even know if this should be a competition outside of the only guy, Mets. Is that Mendoza?
Yeah, he was a Yankees bench coach. Mendoza, right?
Isn't it Mendoza? I thought it was Mendoza. He's up for it too. There's only two guys, and what sucks is that the Mets went so far in the playoffs and they beat the Brewers that it's kind of like, but I take it to Pat Murphy. Pat Murphy's the dog. He took a roster full of a bunch of nobodies and took them into the playoffs should have done something, but they screwed themselves again. So, I would give it to Pat Murphy end of the day. I think he should win it. I don't think Jackson Chourio will win it simply because, if you weigh the whole season, I think it goes to Jackson Merrill. I believe, who's the other guy up for that? Is it Paul Skeens? Is he up for Rookie of the Year?
Finding it right now.
Or is he up for Cy Young?
Shoot.
Could he be up for Cy? Yeah, he could be up for Cy Young. I could see that.
Yeah, I don't know if he could. Yeah.
Is he up? Is Paul Skeens up for that Rookie of the Year?
That's like here we go. Finally, I was looking at it. In the National League, Chourio, Jackson Merrill, and Paul Skeens. So literally the three guys you hit on there.
I would diss on Paul Skeens. Chourio, if you took the second half, if you gave me the second half of the season, I would roll Jackson Chourio all day long because Christian Yelich went out with injury and Chourio stepped in and filled the void that he made, which is hard because that's an all-star who's batting 300 at the time. Jackson Merrill did it all season long, but I don't know. I look at impact, and I just felt like he had a huge impact on that team there. And also William Contreras won his Silver Slugger Award there for the second year in a row as a catcher. So that's awesome. That's awesome to see there.
I got to mention one thing just because I'm looking at that too.
Oh, no. Don't tell me.
No, you're
Ketel Marte? I saw Ketel Marte was in a voting.
This is American League, and you're going to – this is unbelievable. I mean, I guess the American League is literally scraping the bottom of the barrel to try and find some people. But
if you tell me Bobby Witt's up for an award and you count that as scraping the bottom
No. I know that's your boyfriend. I know
you hate on Bobby Witt sometimes.
No, I just don't I don't want to romanticize about him like you. It's okay though. It's all right.
Wow. Hey. He's got a nice hairdo, all right? Got a nice hairdo. He's a nice
I'm surprised,
dude, right?
I want to give you just the American League Rookie of the Year, eligible, the players that are eligible for AL Rookie of the Year. Okay. Colton Cowser from the Orioles, who's surprising. He really dipped off. I mean, he played well, but he really hit a stretch there. And to end the season, the guy freaking breaks his hand and strikes out at the same time. That was just god awful. Don't want to ever see that again. But he is one of the finalists. But the guy that I want to touch on that is awesome because we had a whole thing with Kyle and when we were watching the World Series. Austin Wells is up for AL.
There's my guy, Austin Wells. Yeah.
I mean, you got to think though that there's not many people in the because it's
you can't hate that guy.
Hate
that guy.
He's not a standout in any way.
No, he stinks. He is absolutely terrible.
That's what I mean. He's not even good.
Okay, but out of all the Yankees, that's the one where you can look at him and say, I would be okay with you coming to my team. I'd be okay with you.
Behind the plate, he's gritty. I saw him block every single ball in the World Series. I will give it to him. He's a Posada behind the plate, but he hits 180 at best. And then, great mustache. Here we go with that.
There you go. Bradley Gilbert says he's got a great mustache. That's what I said. Fantastic mustache.
I don't know if I got to see who. There's got to be some players in the AL that had a good rookie
with
season.
A better mustache. No, maybe he got on there for his mustache. They're look at this dude blocking balls.
Yeah, no, I respect all that, but for it to be Rookie of the Year, I think Cowser had a better year. Luis Hill, I know was having a good year. I don't know where he ended up, but to have Austin, like I said, I'm not trying to say he's a piece of garbage, but he's not good. Like he's not good. So AL Rookie of the Year, like there's nobody else out there. That's my pushback on that.
That's true. Like, I'm a big Austin Wells fan, but if I think Rookie of the Year candidate, that dude wasn't on there. Unless if it was for, like, who has the best facial hair? Austin Wells. Great guy. Great guy. Looks like a stand-up dude. I mean, I saw that video you guys sent me of him the next day where he was outside the car dancing. I was like, that's my guy. That's my AL Rookie of the Year right there. How would you feel if you're Colton Cowser and you lose to him, though? That'd be fantastic. That'd be fantastic.
Brutal.
Well, let's get to Bradley Gilbert's question there. He says, where do you think Juan Soto, for his $570 million contract, will go? So he's wondering where he's going to go. I think it's going to be more than 570. I could see it being upwards of that. I could see it being more than that.
I've heard 700. Yeah,
I've heard upwards of that too. I did see. I don't know who keeps like toying with Brewer fans like heartstrings. Like they're just like, we want to mess with you guys today. I saw that they said the Brewers were a dark horse on Juan Soto. I don't know who's paying for that. If you guys just got Elon Musk to like support the Brewers for a day and he's going to pay the contract for us, or what's going on. But I'm going to tell you this now. We can barely afford Christian Yelich. We can't even afford to keep half the guys on our roster. Willie Adames is going to walk out the door for like a quarter of that contract. And you're telling me that we're going to go get shut up. No, done with that. I don't know who made that stupid article. I think it was some Brewer website or something. Like, shut up. Don't toy with people like that, all right? The Brewers are not signing Juan Soto. And if they do, I will take a pie to the face on this show. I will take a pie to the face. But I'm going to tell you this right now. The odds of that happening are very slim. So, like, as much as I want to have, though, first off, where are we going to put him, right? Maybe DH, right? But
you
right
find,
now you got Yelich.
You find a place for him like that if that were to.
You would, but, like, we can't afford –
no,
it's about that because you can't even afford that. We can't afford the guys on our roster at this point here. We're like fans are paying for the players on the roster at this point here. There's like, hey, would you give $20 to pay to Christian Yelich? Like, that's where we're at this point right now in Milwaukee. We don't even know who's our TV, right? I think it's FanDuel now, or what is it? We're on MLB now. For Brewer baseball. We're not getting Jack Dilly squat for a TV right at this point. So we're not affording Juan Soto. I want to squash that bug right away. I'm going to tell you right now. The Yankees are going to try and pay top dollar, but there's a guy who is just a little bit down the road from them, just a little bit. You jump on a train, you head down that little subway there, you get off the train, and there you are. You're standing outside Citi Field there in New York. That guy is going to try and pay top dollar for Juan Soto. So you're going to have a bidding war between those two. The Dodgers will be a sneaky one in the back because they don't miss nothing. They don't miss nothing like this. So they're going to be in there, right? They're going to try and deal in there. The Astros would be a team that I wouldn't leave out of doing something wild. I don't know if they can afford this contract, but that just seems like an Astro thing to do is jump in on this because Bregman's going to be gone. They're out from his contract. They don't have George Springer anymore. They have Altuve on the books and Alvarez, but outside of that, they don't have a lot of big people on the books at this point besides maybe like Verlander. But, I mean, I could see the Astros jumping in on the parade there. There's not a lot of teams that are going to be able to afford Juan. So I think it's going to come down to the two that I said right off the bat, Yankees and Mets dueling it out to see who's going to throw down the most money. But maybe the Dodgers try to jump in, and the Astros are my sneaky team, not the Brewers. Please stop with the Brewer talk on that one. I can see the Astros as a dark horse.
Well, a couple things there because this is like fascinating. He's pulling the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. I don't know if you remember when Salah and I guess Woody Johnson, like the whole gang went out there to California to try and
Is he in a dark room right now?
Well, I haven't heard that. I'm not going to rule it out. Juan Soto is a strange cat to me. The whole like at bat, when he's in the box doing the dance like that, I don't know. But he's in California basically telling people like, come to me, come hither. I will control this entire situation. Which I mean, I heard people talk about it and like, yeah, that's what he can do. But like, my God, these guys are like princesses. I mean, they really are. But, you're going to cater to a guy that's one of the best players in baseball. And he's that's the thing. Like when the Yankees signed Judge, it was like, okay, he's still relatively young. Like this guy is like in his prime. Like this guy is, this is where you want him. And for him to hit free agency, Scott Boras was like licking his chops. Like he knows he's getting a payday. He's probably getting a record payday. You know what I mean? So I would not. Here's like a little dark horse team. I have no idea if they would plunge this heavy, but I raise you the Texas Rangers only because I know they were willing to go out and spend the money on Seager and Semien. They dropped off after the World Series. This past season was a disappointment. They missed the playoffs. They have money. Like, I'm not saying they have Dodgers or Mets money, but I just feel like they've kind of now they're in question. Like, how good are the Rangers? And they have pieces there. Aroldis Garcia, Seager, Semien, like I said, but to get like a Juan Soto, I don't know if the market's big enough. I mean, Texas is a big market, but it's not like New York or it's not like LA. I got to think that like the Mets are a huge player here, like you said. They just have unlimited payroll, basically unlimited pockets with Steve Cohen buying that team there. And then I don't. Here's another weird one. I don't know if they would do it, but would the Padres bring him back? Right. That's where like I don't know. I probably not. But they've shown that they'll spend some money and that they'll invest in the team. So I definitely think you're spot on with who you've said so far. I mean, it's probably Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, like in any which order, for the biggest chance. I know they keep floating the Phillies out there. I think the Phillies would throw him a competitive offer. Are they going to go to the end of the earth like the Dodgers and the I think even the Yankees will get outbid if it comes down to it. And he's not in it for, I want to play in the pinstripes and win a chance. Like he's for the money. The guy has not made any indication that he's loyal to one. Like he even said, I loved playing for the Nationals, but he walked right out the door he went to San Diego so it's like, he has no team alliance here. And Scott Boras is the same way. Scott Boras is going to try and find him the most money. And this is going to be, when do you think this gets done, sooner than later, or we're going to be in this for quite some time that it's
later? But the problem is this has got to be the domino to fall. Like how long? Because this is one where the Mets are waiting on it. The Yankees are waiting on it. The Dodgers are waiting on it. All these other free agents are waiting on it. Like this is the first domino that has to fall. So somebody needs to scoop him up early because otherwise free agency is just going to push like back and back and back. And we're going to wait and wait and wait. And I mean, it might be good news for some of the smaller market teams because then they're like, hey, nobody's offering on this, lesser guy. I'm going to jump in, and maybe, the Brewers are like, hey, nobody's going after a Hung Sung Kim right now. I'm going to jump in on him right now. Just some of those smaller deal guys where, even this guy, I saw another potential guy. He's a Japanese pitcher right now. Roki Sawasaki. I'm guessing that's how you say his name there. He's coming over from Japan. I think he's like 23 years old. And he said he'd be okay with playing a small market team with a good developing system. I mean, the Brewers, if this takes a while, could jump in on that boat right away, right? Maybe get a phenom pitcher from over in Japan. I mean, you have all them little options out there that I think this is going to hold up if Juan Soto doesn't get signed sooner rather than later, I guess.
And you could almost I'm not saying teams will do this, but you could almost take the flip side of that. Like if let's say the Phillies don't really have a great chance of going to get Soto. Like, all right, we're going to go get Bregman. Like, you know what I mean? Like in the meantime, we're going to slide somebody else because we don't see ourselves as outbidding, the Goliaths of the MLB. Like, would you, make a plunge on something like that? Because I know they've already talked about how Alec Boehm is on the trade block. So then you insert Bregman for Boehm just because, same position. Like you might see some of that. Like I'm not saying you're wrong. I think this is the biggest domino to fall. Is it the first one? I don't know because how we look at Scott Boris's clients and it gets drawn out for like weeks and weeks and last year some of these guys weren't even signed into spring training. So I mean it's going to be a round table bidding war. Like it's going to get gross on the amount of money he's going to get. But I mean he's put himself in this position. And like his speech after the Yankees lost the World Series kind of told me everything I needed to know. He's basically like, you can ask the fans how much they appreciated me here. He's like, I love my time here and I love the fans, but it's not swaying me to stay. So he's definitely saying all the things to just get the most money. There's no like, I'm going to give the Yankees a discount because I played there this season. Like he is full on board for the biggest contract that he can get, and whoever's going to give it to him is where he's going to go. I mean, I don't even know if he would set aside like $10 million to, like, if the Mets offer over the Yankees $10 million, he's probably going to the Mets. I mean, that's my take on it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%. And you mentioned a guy in there. There's another rumor floating around. Alec Boehm's on the trade block for the Phillies right now. And the Phillies need a closer. They desperately need a closer. There's a lot of rumors and hot stove talk and, people just talking, basically. It's not really anything credible or anything like that. But not a bad move for the Brewers to call up the Phillies and say, hey, we got this guy in Devin Williams. We could throw another guy on the piggyback of this. I don't care. Some other prospect in there, maybe a pitcher or whatever it is, whatever the Phillies are searching for. Trade for Alec Boehm, bring him in. That's an $8 million contract that he's got right now. His estimate right now is at 8.1 mil heading into this 2025. Then he's arbitration after that next year. So you get about 2 years out of Alec Boehm. And then 2027, he becomes a free agent there. That would be an excellent move for the Milwaukee Brewers. I think that'd be an excellent move. Like, this is a guy coming off a great year. Question is, does Alec Boehm fit the clubhouse? That would be the biggest thing. Is his personality one that fits the clubhouse? Aaron, what kind of personality? I mean, is he a guy who you could foresee? You've seen the Brewers play. You see what kind of lighthearted, clubhouse they have. Is it one of those kinds of things where could you see Alec Boehm going to the, in a Brewers uniform and fitting in with that group there?
I got to be honest with you. I'm not saying he's a locker room cancer. I'm not going to go that far, but he is a crybaby biatch. I'll keep it PG-13.
It'd be like bringing in Josh Donaldson, which we did.
Was he Josh Donaldson a Brewer?
Sadly, we had him for the 2023 postseason. Wow. Him and Jesse Winker. Had them both.
Josh Donaldson as a Brewer. I didn't know.
Josh Donaldson was a Brewer. We grabbed him up.
And freaking Yankee. I mean, he bounced around a good bit there. Brave. He was a Brave for a little bit.
We got him from the Yankees. He was batting a whopping like 160 something in their minor league system, and we said that is the guy we want on our roster.
I'm a closet Josh Donaldson because he's just such an a-hole.
Old Josh Donaldson. The new one, you don't want him. You don't want him.
No, but like he is like that classic, like just cocky a-hole.
He's gonna fight everybody.
You can't almost hate the guy. Like Alec Boehm is like the kid that all the kids got lollipops and he didn't get his favorite flavor. And he's gonna cry about it in the corner. Like I love Alec Boehm was one of my guys on the field. Like he's a homegrown Philly. That's what I like. I like that more than bringing Kyle Schwarber. Okay, I like him, but he's just money, and Cassiano. Like these are transplant guys. I don't root for those guys as much, whether it's a fault of my own, whatever. But being brought up through the system, coming through Reading, coming through Lehigh, all that, like, and then he blossoms on the scene. Everybody thought he was going to be a big power guy. He's a big kid, really. I mean, he's a big dude at this point in his career, but never really saw the power numbers you'd love to see from a corner infielder. But I mean, he hit for average this year. He's he's in the home run derby. He went to the finale of the home run derby, but
so did Bobby Witt. We don't count that.
Well, yeah, trust me. The whole Bobby Witt's like the Mahomes of baseball all of a sudden, I guess, but. It's no, I mean, Boehm's a great, like he's a good, his defense has come a long way. He used to, I remember he'd make 2 errors a game, like not regularly, but you'd see it every couple of weeks. I'm like, can this guy play third base? Like can he just slot him in at first? And that wasn't going to work, obviously, with Harper moving to first. Like he's had such an up, and his career has been so roller coaster and rocky. And then this postseason, he gets benched for the one game because he's not hitting at all, and he's like kind of being he's starting to be toxic again. Like you're starting to see him, I'm not playing, but like it's all good for whatever is good for the team, but like you can tell he's like I hate it. Like this is so. I'm not saying he can't be straightened out, but I would eye on the side of like I would go as far as to say like be careful what you wish for, just because he has that toxic trait to him. I like him a lot. He like I said, he's probably my favorite homegrown Philly. Like he really is. I like, and third base was it's, there's some favoritism there from me personally, but I mean, can he be a good player? Absolutely, he can. It's just he kind of disappears at times. There's times he'll take it at like if he's it's just like if he's having a bad day, he'll take a 2-pitch at bat, and it's just like he checks out. He's a little fragile and in that respect. But I mean, if you're the Brewers, I mean, I probably roll the dice. I don't kind of risk the farm or anything like that. Like this isn't a guy you want to go out and just kind of like, oh, we'll give up a ton for him. I don't see him to be that type of impact, even though he had a great season this season. I don't know. When I saw he was on the trade block, like everybody, rumored that after the whole postseason run, but now that he actually is, it is interesting. I mean, it's kind of, hurt me a little bit if he goes, but it all depends on what they get back. I'd love to say he would because he made those 3 errors in that one game going way back, and he's like, I effing hate this place. Like, they caught him on a hot mic saying that. Here's one for you. What if the A's, right? The A's give up Mason Miller because like he's a dog. I love that guy. He's like my favorite closer in baseball is Mason Miller by a landslide. And then they give up some prospects, that type of thing. Alec Boehm would probably be like, okay, I retire. Like I don't see him even being able to tolerate going from a team like the Phillies where you're in contention, you're in the postseason, to like the A's are going to be playing in Sacramento. Like that would be the ultimate, like just get screwed to Boehm. But I don't.
I would hate the Phillies after that for making the trade.
He
I would
probably
hate the
does
Phillies
to a certain degree. But now, I mean. But I mean, Mason Miller is a hot commodity. Like, there's all these rumors still that people are going after Miller. So it's like, who knows? I mean, and I know Brenton Rooker's out there too on the A's. So like, he's another guy that he'll eventually get on.
I would want. That's a guy I would want.
He's a dog too. He's a guy. So who knows? I mean, I've heard the Tigers are a player, but I don't really know what you get back there. It'll be interesting. I mean, if the Brewers are in it, the Brewers are in it, and then you have part of the Orioles team, part of the Phillies team. The Brewers are starting to like just kind of mishmash some pieces together. But I mean, that infield would be very. I mean, that's an upgrade.
Yeah.
So
especially in the bat, you're losing Willy Adames, so you're bringing a productive bat alongside of it. That's what you're hoping for there. The big thing is you got Rhys Hoskins already there. So if there's a question of what you think this guy's going to do to your, the Brewers are always great. They judge making deals off of what it's going to do to the clubhouse, right? They don't bring in a guy who they believe is going to tear apart their clubhouse. That's not what they do. They always bring in guys to build up the clubhouse and keep the morale high. So, I mean, they would go to Rhys Hoskins and say, hey, dude, I mean, we're thinking about making this move or trying to, spark a deal here. What do you think about Alec Boehm? You played with him. You saw him. You were in the clubhouse with him. You were with him early on. He was there when he said he effing hates this place, right? I mean, he was there. So what do you see out of this guy? What do you like? Would you be able to maybe even control this guy and control that side of him if we brought him in? So, I mean, it's one of those things too, where you mentioned it, you have part of the Phillies already here. Maybe that would help. Dustin says the Phillies are looking at going after Tanner Scott. I mean, that's a good name too. Tanner Scott had a fantastic season last year. That's a good name too. There's going to be a market for him, for Tanner Scott there. I think there's going to be a market of teams calling the Brewers about Devin Williams if they make him available there too. So you got to play the market and what's available. Maybe Tanner Scott ends up somewhere else. The Phillies are still trying to fill that void. They got to call up the Brewers. Maybe that sparks that deal there. So we'll see what happens on that flip side of it there. But we got to move on. Aaron, let's get to the fact of the day. Let's just get a fact of the day in there. We haven't had a good fact of the day. Well, Kyle's been stepping in, and he's done a fantastic job with his facts of the day. I mean, the other day, I can't remember what it was, but he had a great one there the other day. Aaron, what do we got? What is the fact of today for November 13th?
Couldn't have been that good if you forget. No, I'm just poking fun. No. This was kind of a dive on this one, trying to find a good one, but I'll give you. In 1942, the minimum draft age was lowered from 21 to 18. So, I mean, that's important, right? That's a lot of young men going into wars and, into the military, all that type of thing. So, forgive me. I mean, I guess the draft age is that permanent now, or as that stand? If there was to be a draft, would it be still 18? I don't know. I should know, but it was lowered in this day and 1942 from 21 to 18. So yeah, a lot of young men impacted by that, obviously, back in that time period.
salute to all the veterans too. We weren't on here
Exactly.
for Veterans Day, so we just wanted to say if anybody's in there who has served or anything like that, or knows somebody who served, or has somebody in their family who is serving currently, like, thank you for all that you have done for us to keep us free and being able to come on here and talk about nonsense for about an hour and a half every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. Like, that's what we love to do. So thank you to everyone out there. Dustin says, we got to get to it. We were going to get to Badgers next, but we can jump right into the Packers. That's fine here. Dustin says, let's talk about the Bears for a minute. It's Packers-Bears week, and the veterans in that Bears locker room want Williams benched. I got to be honest with you. I know I'm not that old, but I've, been a part of a lot of Bears-Packers weeks. And each Bears pack, like, it's a rivalry, right? You get kind of nervous leading up to it. And maybe I am a little bit, geeked out about them Bears team right now. Like, they could find a way. This is still, they got talent on that roster. Like, the Bears always it's a rivalry game. They find ways to keep it close, all this kind of stuff. But when I'm thinking about this game right now, Bears Packers, I just not feeling it. I'm not feeling this one this time because the Bears are a mess. Like, this team is ugly right now. You look at, they haven't scored a touchdown in 23 straight possessions. Like, that's bad. That is bad. Jane Daniels and them Washington Commanders, they broke them Bears. Ever since that cornerback, that Stevenson there, was messing around, Hail Mary happens. Ever since then, he got benched. He got basically done. We see DJ Moore walking off the field mid-play. Caleb Williams getting just nailed in the backfield there against the Patriots. Like, 9 sacks to the Patriots. Like, that's not that. That's a decent enough defense. They're not terrible. I don't want to call them terrible, but man, this Bears team is a mess. And yes, the Packers are coming off of a bye and everything like that. And there's lots of things the Packers need to clean up too. But this just doesn't feel like a Bears-Packers rivalry week right now. It just feels like it's like, the Bears are like limping into this game and the Packers are like, let's rock and roll. Like, I'm ready. It's second half. Here we go. So, Aaron, like, Dustin mentioned it there. You have veterans in that Bears locker room. They're like, we want Williams benched at this point here. I am assuming at this point it's for the health of him because he's just getting absolutely just nailed out there at this point because the offensive line is bad. You got wide receivers quitting on plays. We saw that with DJ Moore. He said that Eberflus lost the locker room. They fired their offensive coordinator. Now they get this new offensive coordinator in there. They're like, he's going to save the day. He had a pretty good day like 3 years ago against the Packers in a game. They scored like 30-some points. So let's put him in there, see what happens. This is just a disaster. Like, for a Bears team that we thought maybe had some potential leading into this year to be something. Wow. Like, this is disaster 101.
I told you at the beginning of the year, I thought Caleb, like, I'm not going to put it all on him, but he's not, like, everybody thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be the savior for the Jets. Everybody thought, I'm not writing the book off on Sam Darnold yet, but I told you he was going to implode and start, like, these things are starting to come to fruition a little bit. I'm not trying to say I'm a prognosticator or something, but this was my gut feeling. I said the Bears might win 7-8 games. They're at 4 right now. So am I, like, out of the stratosphere for thinking that? No. I didn't think it was going to implode quite like this. I knew the offensive line was going to be hot garbage because it has been for, last time I remember the offensive line for the Bears being even respectable, Thomas Jones was running the ball for the Bears. So that tells you how long the offensive line has just been just inept, to say the least. Caleb Williams is not playing. Like, I thought he was going to struggle. He had some good games earlier in the year. He has not played that good as of lately. I saw his facial reaction when the Commanders, threw that bomb, and he's just like raging, like to the point where he's like losing his mind, which I get it. You lost the game. You had no purpose, you had no reason to lose that game. Like, that Hail Mary should not have happened, but just his body language was like, I don't know. You're a rookie, like, things are going to happen. So he didn't handle that well, in my opinion. And there's so many issues. Like you said, offensive coordinator gets let go now. There's kind of scrambling. It reminds me of how the Eagles were last year, 10-1, doing great. Then, everything goes to crap. They fire Sean Desai. They bring in Matt Patricia to call a defense. It gets worse. Like, all those things are it's like the Jets too. The Jets, they fire Saleh, interim head coach. It looks worse. Like, everything's getting worse for them. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, these are, I'm not saying not to make changes, but you're now desperate. You look, You look like you have no solution currently in your current construction. And I mean, if the veterans, I guess I hope for their sake that it is injury related. I hope they just don't think he sucks, because I mean, he's played not that great, but I mean, it's turmoil everywhere. And Caleb, of all people, Caleb Williams is not going to be the leader and galvanize the team. Like there's no way I see it. In college, he was, on the sideline with his mom with an umbrella. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. Like this guy, he's not like a Tom Brady. He's not like a killer instinct type of, and maybe he'll get there, but like right now, everything's in shambles. And if I'm a Packers fan, I'm like, sure, they might play us hard. They might give us everything they got. Maybe they come out with a win with a miracle. Like it would take everything and a miracle basically. But I'm not like, they're not challenging for the division. They're not. I don't think they make the playoffs, barring something crazy. The Bears are like, I mean, shoot, like what's his name? Danny Green said the Bears are who we thought they were. I mean, this is kind of who we thought they are, because it's like this is what they're, the Jets of the NFC North. They find a way to screw things up year after year, coach after coach, quarterback after quarterback. Like it's just till I'm proven, otherwise. It's a turmoil and it's disaster.
Yeah, it comes down to coaching. It really does. Eberflus is not the guy. They need to accept that and move on. It was not the offensive coordinator. It was not. I mean, how many quarterbacks are you going to go through? Like, we have Brantley Gilbert in here. He says that they should bring back Trubinsky because he wasn't any better than Williams, but he had that experience. I'm like, you know what? Honestly, they've had Trubinsky. They have had Fields. They've had Caleb Williams now. It's not the quarterback. The quarterback's not the problem. Find a coach. I heard the greatest thing. I think it's Evan Cohen is on that Unsportsmanlike there on ESPN radio in the morning there. And he said, you get a coach first and then you get a quarterback. He said, why would you bring a quarterback into a system with a lame duck coach? They always say a lame duck coach, right? Why would you bring a quarterback into a system if you're not planning on that coach being here for the next 3 years? That is 100% the truth. They do not expect Eberflus to be able to ride this thing out. Just like Dable with the New York Giants right now. If you don't expect him to be able to be that 3-year coach for you, at least 3, why is he there? I mean, it just doesn't make sense at this point here. It just doesn't make sense.
When Harbaugh, when everything was crashing at Michigan and you could tell Harbaugh was out, he did the Pete Carroll, ran from everything, all that type. The Bears should have been like, we are making sure Harbaugh ends up here. Like, you needed to get a guy that's established, a winner, a guy who's done it, like he did it. Even if you want to say, oh, he's in the college game, but he did it with the 49ers. You know what I mean? So it's John Gruden. I mean, I don't know. I'm 50. I love John Gruden, but like as a coach, I don't know. He kind of got that ring. He kind of inherited that ring from Tony Dungy, in my opinion. Like Tony Dungy built that team in Tampa a long time ago. John Gruden comes in, they get the ring, to his credit. I'm not taking that away from him. But then what did he do after that? I don't know. And then he goes to the Raiders, which, I mean, whatever happened there for him to get fired. Justified, not justified, I don't know. But I mean, it is the Raiders too. I mean, I don't know who. Maybe Tom Brady can coach the Raiders out of poverty, but they are just that's good luck with that. I don't know.
The big thing with Jim Harbaugh too, developing, right? College coaches. Yeah. You mentioned he's a college coach. He's got that ability to develop guys. We saw it at Michigan. He's got that ability. And the greatest thing that he's doing with the Chargers right now, he's building a run game. He's building the offensive line first, and then he's working back. You can draft all the quarterbacks in the world, like the Panthers with Bryce Young. They're like, oh, he's a bust. He's a bust. Put an offensive line in front of him. Put something in front of him first, and then we'll talk. Then we'll come back to it. Same with Caleb Williams now. That offensive line sucks. That offensive line is terrible. 9 sacks against the Patriots. I know Kyle's in the comments here. He says you can thank my Patriots for the increasing Bears frustration. He's got Williams. He's got May over Williams, and then he's got Williams over Rodgers right now.
Yes. Wow, that's a body slam.
Yeah, that's taking shots at our boy Aaron Rodgers there. But, hey, I mean, come on. You got to sometimes. But, I mean, that's 100%. I mean, you got a guy in Caleb Williams, who maybe he wasn't the best quarterback in that draft. Maybe Jaden Daniels was. I thought he was, but maybe, Caleb Williams wasn't the best quarterback. But you know what? He's not a bad quarterback. Like, as much as I don't like Caleb Williams, he's not a bad quarterback. I saw him at USC. This guy can sling the ball around. He's a good offensive player. but you don't have anything around him. You can keep grabbing all these wide receivers, right? They went and get, DJ Moore's in the room, and they get Keenan Allen, and they have Rome Odunze, and they got Cole Kmet there, and they got DeAndre Swift in the backfield. Guess what? If you don't have an offensive line to protect Caleb Williams, if you don't have an offensive coordinator, a head coach that can put a game plan together that benefit Caleb Williams, you're going to stink. That's just plain and simple. You can have the greatest defense in the world, which they had a great defense at one point. But guess what? When you have offensive stats where you're averaging 277 yards per game right now, you are third worst in football. You're ahead of the Browns and the Patriots, and that's it. The Raiders have more yards per game than you at this point. I can tell you where your problems are right now. You have all the talent in the world on the offensive side of the football, but your offensive line sucks. And that's just plain and simple. So that's the Bears for you in a nutshell. You have no head coach. You're flipping through offensive coordinators, and you're trying to build an offense from the quarterback back. But we've talked about it before. Defensive line, offensive line. You got to have them before you're going to have a well-established system, which is what Jim Harbaugh is trying to do out there with the Chargers. Now he stepped into a better situation with Justin Herbert already there. I mean, that's a better situation to be in already. You got your quarterback who's a little bit more established in there. But, I mean, man, oh, man, that just – and you look at Dustin earlier, he said, look at the rest of that schedule for the Bears. They're not going to win another game. You have – if you are the Bears right now, so even if you have the Packers coming up this week, then you play the Lions, then you play the 49ers, then you play the Vikings, the Lions, the Seahawks, and the Packers again. There is one game on there where I would say, like, there's always a probable chance to win every game, right? You always have that chance to win every game. But if I'm like a betting man right now, there's one game on that list where I'm like, yeah, they could probably win that one. The Seahawks. They could maybe win that game against the Seahawks. Outside of that, 2 against the Packers, especially in week 18, where the Packers might be backs against the wall trying to make the playoffs. And then you have a team like the Lions, who you have to play twice, where say the Lions drop a game. Well, now the Packers are right on their tails. The Vikings are right on their tails. They're looking to blow some teams out too. You don't want to be in those situations. The Vikings, their backs are against the wall right now. You have the 49ers. They're definitely with their backs against the wall. You have a gauntlet of a rest of a schedule right now if you're the Chicago Bears, and you are a disaster. You are a disaster right now. I mean, man, it honestly, I don't like... Torian Prince misses the shot at the buzzer, so now we got to go to overtime with the Pistons. We suck. We just suck. The Bucks suck. I'm just over it right now. I'm just over it. But, I mean, you look at this schedule for the Bears, and you're just like, what do you do? I mean, you got – and I can see why, some guys are like, hey, why don't we just, give Caleb Williams some time to just kind of absorb the NFL atmosphere right now? That's kind of saying – the season's over, right? You're basically throwing in the towel at that point if you go to the backup quarterback over Caleb Williams. But at this point, I mean, you're risking injury for this guy. 9 sacks against the Patriots, you're risking injury for your quarterback. And this is your quarterback that you're expecting to be around for a long time. For a long time, right? That's what the Bears are hoping at this point, is that this guy is going to be their future. I think he's going to be the future of the Bears. I'm not writing off Caleb Williams by any way, shape, or form. I think he can be a good NFL quarterback, but there's no system. There's no building blocks at this point. You have Caleb Williams, and you have a terrible offensive line. Veterans out there at the wide receiver room who are going to go away. Rome Odunze will be there. But, I mean, what are you building right now? You need offensive line help, and you did nothing to get better in that area. So, I mean, we'll see. I guess Dustin's in that comments. He says, you had to bring up Michigan, didn't you? Let's see. He says something about JJ. JJ McCarthy just had his second knee surgery today. I'm hopefully fast recovery. I'm excited to see JJ McCarthy in there. I think he could be a solid NFL quarterback. We'll see what he does there. I'm excited to see it. It's always great when the NFC North has 4 great starting quarterbacks, because that just makes the games that much better. I do. I hate when they have like Jay Cutler, right? It just sucks. Jay Cutler sucks. I mean, we can just accept that. And Kyle, he's giving props to Prince here. He says, give Prince credit. He at least knew the clock was running out. Yeah, probably somebody in the crowd had to yell to him and tell him, hey, there's 3 seconds left. Fire it up. He did.
Better than J.R. Smith, right? Better than J.R. Smith running the wrong way. And
this is true. True. And then, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize there was still time left on the clock. The Pistons just had a shot at the buzzer to try and, oh my God. Okay, it is now going to overtime. Thank God. It's going to overtime now.
See, I knew I liked Brantley Gilbert ripping into Sam Darnold a little bit.
Best part is Brantley Gilbert is a Vikings fan. So
sorry to hear that.
It's rough times for him right now. He says after Sam Darnold's last game there, the Vikings have to step up. Yes, 100%. I mean, the scary part, I would say, it's not like I give Jacksonville credit. Like, they hung around in that game. They didn't do anything to help themselves because
With
Mac Jones was playing. Yeah, if
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence was playing, the Vikings lose. Like, that's
Yeah.
plain and simple. Like, Mac Jones just couldn't lead. I mean, oh, man, he just stinks. I don't know what else to say. Like, that was just – it was like Sam Darnold would throw an interceptions. Mac Jones is like, dude, I can do that too. Like, he was trying to put on like his recruiting tape for the Vikings. Like, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. Watch this. Bam. Like, I don't understand it. But I mean, Sam Darnold, the problem I had with the interceptions was he was airmailing guys and he was throwing a lot of dangerous throws, right? And it really gave you them vibes of them New York Jet days. It really gave you those kinds of vibes there. If you're a Vikings fan, you've had 2 bad performances now out of Sam Darnold back to back. Like, that's nerve-wracking. You know, Jared Goff throws 5 interceptions against the Texans and still wins. Like, that tells you how good the Lions are. They overcame 5 interceptions, right? And I mean, the Texans aren't helping themselves by any means by putting up, 23 points in that first half and then not scoring anything really in the second. Like, didn't help themselves out by any way, shape, or form. I think it was those red jerseys. I think it really was those red. Those are bold. Those are bold jerseys right there.
I mean, absolutely. I don't know, man. When I say I have zero trust in Sam Darnold, I have zero trust in Sam Darnold. Like, that's until he. I mean, I'm not saying, they're 7-2. To his credit, he's won games. He's won ugly games. But now you're starting to see a trend of like, okay, this isn't the same guy we had earlier in the season. So, I mean, if I'm a Vikings fan, I'm nervous, right? I mean, they're playing the Titans this week. You would hope that's a win. Titans are horrible, but their defense is not. It is not horrible. So, I mean, at least they had that going for them. Maybe they force him into some turnovers. I mean, they're 7. Like I said, it's hard to believe the Vikings are 7-2. Sorry, Brantley Gilbert, you're a good country singer there, but I don't want to dig into your team too much. But it's just it is surprising still, and I give the head coach a lot of credit in that. But I mean, yeah, because I kind of laid some money down on the Jags. I'm like, okay, like they'll find a way to, like every time I think the Jags are going to find a way. Yeah, even with Mac Jones, I'm like, they'll find a way to win this one. Nope. They are just so bad. I mean, Doug Peterson doesn't probably survive the rest. He doesn't come back. I don't think you run it back with Doug Peterson. This team was in the AFC divisional game, 2022, I think.
Yeah.
And, against the Chiefs, and they were in that game till late in the fourth quarter. Like, this team has completely fallen off the map, and I'm still not one guy I don't have enormous trust in either, Trevor Lawrence. His that receiving core, I've never seen a receiving core drop more balls in my life. Like that, they don't even. I don't know if they go out and use the machine to try and catch those 100-mile-per-hour whatever coming out of you put the football and bang, and it's like right on target. I don't know if those guys even practice catching the ball. Like, it is. I've never seen. And I know Mac Jones played this week, but earlier in the season, I'm not going to put all that on Lawrence. I guess I sound like I'm talking out of 2 sides of my mouth because, Darnold's played well and Lawrence hasn't. But I see the ceiling with Lawrence, and I still think he's got something where Sam Darnold, I don't know if he has. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I got a little bit like the Vikings are going to lose eventually, and they barely squeaked it out with
Kyle. This guy put money on Mac Jones, dude. Like, this guy put money down on Mac Jones. That's how bad it was. He's putting money down on Mac Jones.
I thought Mac Jones would be gritty, and he's trying. I mean, the guy's not going to be in the league. You know what I mean? Like, what do you have to lose? Throw something. I mean, he did throw something at the wall, and for damn sure it didn't stick. Right, 3 picks. I mean, he's throwing it to the other team more than his own team. But I don't know. I mean, bad times for Jack. I mean,
bad times for the Bucks. All right, they called the foul on the lob to Hollis Jefferson there, or Holland, and now he's at the free throw line with 1 second left in the fourth quarter in a 111-111 game, and he's got a chance to basically win it here with a free throw. He missed the first one, so now it's one shot. One shot. Here we go. 1 second to go. 1 second to go. It's going to be Torian Prince to try and launch one. And he missed them both. You suck. You just suck. All right. Yeah. Overtime, baby. We're not gone. We're not gone yet, Kyle. That's just wild though. Laying money down the Jets or Jags, man. You might as well have put money on the Jets. Like, that's basically what you just told me there. That's basically what you just told me.
Might as well put money on Caleb Williams for MVP, right? Like, it's not gonna happen.
There's a shot. There's a shot. There's a shot. Yeah, we're good. We're good there. We're good. There's a possibility. Yeah, but I mean, yeah. Bears, Packers. We're gonna get more into that game on Friday here on the show. There's one more game. I want to do our picks real fast here because we got a pretty big Thursday night game coming up here. This is for the NFC East, top of the NFC East right now. Washington taking on them Philadelphia Eagles. And this is, I mean, Kyle and I were talking on Integrity Sports Network on the I always forget snap counts there on Sundays after some of the games in the early portion of the day. We go on there, we talk about those games, and we were talking about it. And I said, he asked me about the Eagles. What are your thoughts on this Eagles team right now? And do you believe they're back? And I said, I've watched the games that they've played, and I want to believe they're back, but I want to see it against a good team. I want to see it against a good team, like a good all-around team. This is that kind of game for me right now. This is a primetime game. You're the only game happening. All the eyes in America and around the world or wherever you're watching on Amazon Prime, they're on you in this game. I want to see the Philadelphia Eagles show me something in this game because that secondary, as we talked about early on this year, there was problems in the secondary. It's starting to look better now, right? You have slowly but surely the secondary is coming along. And the offense, once they started using Saquon Barkley to his full exposure, he started doing backflips over top of guys and like jumping over guys backwards, like some crazy crap like that. Now the offense is flowing. Jalen Hurts looks good. The play calling looks a little bit better. They've been winning some games, but this feels like this is a different kind of game. I don't know. Is that Aaron? You're a Philly guy. You're the Philadelphia Eagles man. How are you feeling right now about your Eagles? Do you believe they're back? Is this a game that you're like, this is the one? This is the test. This is to tell me that my Eagles are for real.
I mean, it is a test, right? Absolutely. I mean, there's no way around that. The Commanders have in recent memory, even with it was Heineke, then it was forget the guy. It always escapes me that last quarterback they had. Sam something? I can't remember.
Sam Howell?
Sam Howell, yeah, Sam. There you go. Even with Sam Howell, like they have been. I know it's division, right? It seems I told like I had a good feeling about the Broncos going into KC. KC gets off with the blocked field goal. Division games, no matter AFC, NFC, what division you're talking, it's usually tight. It's usually it just usually is. So no matter who, now you have Jane Daniels, an upgrade obviously over Hal, over Heineke, over who they've had in recent memory. People are saying he's like the best rookie quarterback ever. Like you're getting all that type of talk. I still don't fully trust this Eagles team either. I'm as a sports fan, I still want to say I'm more glass half empty than full because I've seen the low of, especially Philadelphia teams. It's like inevitable that you're going to, get to the bottom eventually. It just happens. The bottom falls out. So I'm not saying it's going to fall out here. I think the fact that it's in Philadelphia is obviously an advantage. It's going to be a test. And I think Saquon's going to have a good game. I still love when the Eagles have to drop Hurts back more than 30 times. I don't like our chances. It just seems to not go well when that happens. So I look for the play calling to be on point, mix the run and the pass. And like you said, McLaurin always torches the Eagles, it feels like. So that'll be a matchup there. Slay's had his games where he kept him in check, but there's been games that guy's gone for 150 plus against the Eagles. So that's a big one to me. Jane Daniels obviously loves throwing him the ball. That's who wouldn't? But it's like you said, it's a primetime game. All the eyeballs are there, and there's a lot of like how much of an impact can Saquon make? I liked how the Eagles got Dallas Goedert back involved this week. I think they go away from that way too much. They just forget they have a tight end. I don't know why. Doesn't make sense. I thought with Kellen Moore that wouldn't be the case, but even with Kellen Moore that's happened. So it's a toss-up. Eagles are favored at home, which is a little surprising, but less than a touchdown, about a 4-point favorite. So I think the Eagles – I have a good feeling about the Eagles are playing good, as are the Commanders, but I think they're going to split the season series. Like when they go to Landover and play the Commanders, I think they'll drop that game. So that's just – it's tight, though. It's like you compare the Packers to Detroit right now. Both teams are playing good. Both teams are soaring high, but it's division, and it's like you never know how that's going to play out because they know each other's tendencies more. And Jane Daniels is the hot story this year, so it's like, does he eventually, fall off, or is this a whole rookie season thing, and then next season you see him maybe fall down a little bit, like we're seeing C.J. Stroud do a little bit?
I agree. I just watched Giannis just walk into a three and can it, and I almost like went down to Milwaukee and kicked him myself. Like I absolutely irritates me when he does that, because if he had missed that, like, drives me nuts. Drives me nuts
You
sometimes. He
didn't
just,
though, at least. At
he
least.
he hit it, but he comes down. I don't know why Giannis ever plays point guard, but we have him playing point guard at times. Comes down, walking up, nobody's defending him. He's just like, bam, in overtime. They're up. Brooke just hit a three before that. So it's 116 to 111. Now it's 119 to 111. Bucks are up. But it just irritates me. I don't know. Kyle, are you still in the chat? Does that irritate you too? Because it irritates me in there. So Brantley says, I do have to say the NFL quarterbacks have to get out of the pocket almost every time. That's what I see right now. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of scrambling going on. Like, to be honest, look at that. It has to do with pass rushing's got a lot better, all those kinds of things at this point here. So it's all metrics, right? It's all metrics. NFL quarterbacks got to get timely with that kind of stuff. And some people have happy feet, so they bail out early. It's the day and age of those quarterbacks that were the true pocket passer is slowly going away, right? And we're slowly getting towards the quarterbacks that love to move around a little bit and get out of there. So you like the Eagles? Did you say you like the Eagles in that game there?
I think so. I'm starting to trust Vic Fangio a little bit. I still don't love how he calls the defense, but it seems like they're playing for him, and they're playing within they at least have a system now, where like in the last couple of years they haven't. It looks like everybody's just like lost out there. So it's going to be hard to stop Jane Dan, and they run the ball really well. I think they're like fourth in rushing. So I think the Eagles find a way, but I mean, I'm never, even at 7-2, it doesn't feel like the Eagles are 7-2. We played a lot of, not great teams, and it is what it is. Like, you play who's in front of you, right? But this is a lot bigger. I'm kind of going off the fact that they're in Philly, and I think they'll get up for this game. Still don't fully trust Syria. Like, there's a lot of question marks with the Eagles, but I guess at home, I'll take them by, just about. They might not even cover this. Like, it might be a 3-point game, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I like the Commanders. I just got to say, they got to be able to catch them wicked fastballs that Jane Daniels be throwing out there, because there was a couple drops in that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers that were killers. They were backbreakers.
And they're coming off that game, so they're going to be fired. Like, and nobody still quote unquote respects them because they're the Commanders. You know what I mean? Like,
and they lost themselves that game. I mean, and off sides. And
the Eagles kind of have that, like, people know they've been competitive. People know the Packers have been competitive. The Commanders are like, okay, are they they're still like, are they actually for real for an entire season? Like, so they're going to come out fired up. I wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders win this game. Like, it's by no means am I fully confident at all in the Eagles winning this game. It's tight.
It should be a good one. I think this might be, I got to be honest with you, this might be the best Thursday night football game we've seen so far. So I think this might be the one here, and it might take the cake of the entire weekend. So we'll see. I don't know. I didn't look at the rest of the schedule for the weekend, but we'll get into that. Once we get to Friday, we'll get into the weekend schedule there of all them games there. Kyle, he says that Giannis is going to take 1 or 2 of them a game. He works on it, but I don't like when he bails defenses out by shooting them. It's late in the game. It's 116 to 111. You got the lead. It's, in overtime. I'm just like working around a little bit. Like, I'm okay if you shoot one, but not in overtime. Like, you're not my 3-point shooter. You're not my consistent guy. Like, that makes me a little bit nervous there. And then Kyle says it's Dotson's revenge game there. So
I'm still kind of waiting on Dotson. We're forming the Penn State Philadelphia Eagles, though. We're gonna get Parsons this offseason.
Gotta stay local.
Yeah,
the local guys.
Once we bring Micah Parsons, it's over. Like, we got the Penn State squad back together with Saquon and Dotson and Parsons and the whole gang. Maybe bring Sean Clifford in as backup quarterback, just because he's out there. Why not?
Dustin says that the Ravens and Steelers and Chiefs and Bills play on Sunday. So, okay, maybe not game of the weekend. But there's a big NFL slate for this week here. I mean, you got Ravens and Steelers. That should be an epic battle right there. And then Chiefs and Bills should be a good one. Now we're talking Commanders and Eagles. Should be Bears and Packers, but we'll see how that one ends up. I think it's still going to be a good game because it's a rivalry game, but we'll see. We'll see how that one goes. Hopefully it's a blowout and I can make fun of some Bears fans because that's what I love to do there. So we got about 6 minutes, roughly 5 minutes left in the show here. I wanted to get to the Badgers football today. We're not going to get to the whole thing that I wanted to talk about, but Oregon, we got Oregon coming up this weekend here. Yay, great. We get Oregon now. Kyle says James Franklin as the new Eagles head coach.
Oh,
Gotta love that.
we gotta pump the brakes. As much as Sirianni, I don't love Sirianni.
Pump the brakes on that one, Kyle. Pump it. But Oregon's coming to town, right? Oregon's coming to town under the lights, of course. We get another primetime game when a big matchup comes to Camp Randall. It's good, right? It's good for recruiting and everything like that. Carter Smith, one of the better quarterback recruits, 4-star recruit, decommitted from Michigan. He's going to be in Wisconsin for that game. They have a couple other 4-stars that are going to be in attendance there, recruiting-wise. And I'm looking at this team right now. My biggest question. Okay, we're going to get into this game on Friday there, so I don't want to talk too much about it today here, especially because we're getting towards the end of the show here. But I'm looking at this game and I'm saying to myself, okay, we look at this Badger team right now, and what is the thing we keep going over? They have no identity. We talk about it all the time. There's no identity. There's no identity. There's no identity. Okay, so if I'm a quarterback and I come watch this, and if us as fans we understand the game of football, but maybe we don't see it through a quarterback's eyes, right? He's watching it from the sidelines and he's looking at it and he's like, what are they doing? What is this team? What is it, a run heavy? Like, what are we doing right now? So my question, I guess, is what I'm saying is if, we're at this point where we have no identity as a team right now, does that hurt recruiting? Is that hurting you in the recruiting front? Because does this quarterback believe that if he shows up like, hey, I can fix that, we're going to have an identity if I show up? Or is this quarterback walking in, he's saying, I don't even understand the play calling at this point here. The play calling is actually atrocious. And if I show up, this isn't going to benefit me in any way because it's just going to be the same repetitive crap week after week. I don't know. I look at, if I were to go to a Penn State night game, and I'm watching this offense because I saw him, I was in Camp Randall when they played Wisconsin, and I saw this Penn State playbook, and I know Drew Aller was out, but I mean, that playbook was wide open. There's all this crazy crap happening, all this motion, all this option plays, all this stuff that, showcases a quarterback skill, showcases offensive linemen, showcases tight ends. I mean, we see what's his name's doing there. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Warren's. Yeah. What Warren's is doing there. The wide receivers, even, they got involved in those games. Like, that offense is it's everywhere, right? It's balanced. It's everything that contributes into that. But I look at Wisconsin, it's like, what is it? Do we run the ball? Are we a passing team? We can't do either one successfully. I don't understand the routes that we're running right now. Our offensive line plays with no physicality. Like, this team looks like they're like against Iowa. They look like they were down and out in the first quarter. So, I mean, my question, does it hurt recruiting when they come into an atmosphere? Like, this is a sold-out crowd. This is going to be a pumping atmosphere. Like, there's a sold-out crowd. There's going to be a lot of people in Camp Randall. I don't know if it's going to be Oregon fans or if it's going to be Wisconsin fans, but there's going to be a lot of people in this crowd. And, if you can somehow, some way, keep it a game, make it competitive, and you get to that third quarter and you get jump around. I mean, you talk to all the recruits in that Penn State game when it was a game in that third quarter and it was a game going into the fourth quarter. Those recruits are like, this atmosphere is electric. Like, jump around meant something. The student section was still there. Like, it was awesome, right? But now you get into a game against Oregon where your team is all out of sorts at this point. And it makes me worry that, we want to get Carter Smith, this great quarterback. But if he sees a team with no identity and they look like hot garbage out there, why am I signing up for this? Penn State's got an offer for me. Penn State's looking at Carter Smith right now. There's a couple other universities looking at Carter Smith right now, just in the Big Ten. Why am I looking at Wisconsin with a lack of an offensive coordinator? It looks like non-motivated players out there with the locker room that looks like it's in disarray right now. I mean, what is your opinion on that? Are you, as a recruit, looking in at that?
I mean, you have to, right? Let's just say I'm a Wisconsin fan. Like, I'll take my bias out of it. Okay, or I'm Carter Smith, right? I'm coming into this. Okay, I'm going to give Wisconsin a fair shake. I'm going to give whoever, right? Illinois. I'm going to give Penn State. I'm going to give Washington. Whoever's coming after, whoever wants me to come to their university. You want to go into this with a blank slate. Okay, Wisconsin's 5-4. You know that. I mean, you're aware of that. But if they come out and I think in this game, like, we talked about it with the Penn State Wisconsin game, how, they kind of got conservative. Like, I don't care if Brain Locks throws 8 picks in this game. I care, obviously, if I'm a fan of Wisconsin. Like, you don't want to see that. But if you're trying to pound the ball, right? Okay, we're gonna stick to the running game and try and make that work and have run pass, option really. So you're in a flow of the defense doesn't know. It could be a run, could be a pass. You're not predictable. But if the run gets shut down, like how Penn State kind of neutralized the run, like I'm not saying completely abandon it, but don't be afraid to throw deep shots because you're having the number one team in the nation come in. Like,
Yep.
I know Penn State's up there in the rankings, but this is like Oregon is like this is a different animal. Like this is, this offense this is like video game numbers. Like Oregon always does this, and you're having them come into your building, which you're fortunate to have, in my opinion. Like you don't going out there. I if I'm a Wisconsin fan, I'm probably looking through like the blinders of my hands, like because you go out there and try and run them. It's like good luck, But if you're Carter Smith coming into this, like you want to see the Badgers play at least, like you said, competitive. Like competitive is the key word here. Competitive. I'm not saying they're gonna win the game. Even I don't give them much of a chance. But you get you play to win the game. Like you can't get this complacency. If okay, it's a close game. It's 10-7 going into the second quarter. Let's just throw little check downs every single play, or let's just run the ball and it's not working. It's not working. It's not like take your deep shots. The guy his decision making isn't very good, but like give him a chance to make the decisions. And he's never going to learn if you just kind of stranglehold what he can do. So if you're Carter Smith, you come into this like, okay, I want to see the atmosphere. I want to see Wisconsin come out with their hair on fire. You have nothing.
Yeah.
You literally have nothing to lose. You're not worried about a bowl, eligibility to make a bowl in this game. No one, not a single person, probably even in Madison, thinks they're going to win this game. So you go into it like, let's just give it everything we got and throw everything at the wall. Like if they did trick plays in this game, they pulled that fake punt against Penn State, and to their credit, they got it. Like that's the type of stuff you're going to have to do. I'm not saying every single time they go back to punt, do a fake punt run, fake punt pass, whatever. But if they play complacent and they get blown out, that's the worst thing you can do for the recruits coming in to watch this game. Because not only are they bored, they're like, wow, this team isn't even like, if I'm here, they're not going to let me, sling it like I can. So just throw everything at the wall this game. And if you get blown out, you get blown out. You're expected to get blown out. So it is what it is.
I agree 100. That was the best thing you said. Throw it all against the wall, right? Just come out with a fire. That's what they missed in Iowa. No fire, no intensity, there was no physicality. They looked like a lame duck out there waiting to get shot. Like that's just where we were at. You went into Iowa, and that's supposed to be one of those games. You're playing for a trophy. You're playing for pride. You're playing for all those past Badgers that have won that trophy or lost that trophy back to Iowa. Like that's supposed to be one of those games. And you came out flat. You came out looking like you didn't care the outcome. You didn't care what was happening. So Luke Fickell's message has to be simple. This is a great Oregon team. Not many people are picking us to win. Let's go do something. I don't care what it is. Like you said, take some shots. Do what you got to do, just like you did against Penn State. But don't play conservative like you did against Penn State. Air it out. Do the little things in this game. Right now, I can't even believe this. Oregon's favored by 14. They're giving them 14 right now. That's actually surprising. They're giving the benefit of Camp Randall. They're giving the benefit of the night game in the cold in Madison, probably towards Wisconsin in this one. That does definitely help. But you got to, like you said, and like Kyle's saying there, first play of the game, double reverse, halfback pass, make it happen. Like, I agree. Like, do something, maybe not that to that extreme. I don't know if Tyree Walker can sling it around there. But even, you want to impress recruits, show them who he's going to be playing with, right? If this game turns into, I'm hoping it doesn't end up like, Dustin was saying they're 52-10. Like, we're hoping for a little bit better of a game than that. But if it turns into a 24-10 game, bring in some of the young guys. Bring in some of the young running backs there. Maybe bring in some of the younger wide receivers, whatever it is. Bring somebody in here who is going to give them experience, right? Because we want to see what those guys got. I'm not opposed to, in this game, if Braden Locke's looking like crap, bring in Mabry. Throw him out there. Just see what you have right now in a backup quarterback. I know he's a true freshman. I know I'm not expecting the world out of the guy. I'm really not. This is Oregon. Like, if you threw him out there to start, I wouldn't expect him to win. It doesn't matter who Wisconsin throws out there at quarterback. Odds are they're probably going to lose this game. I'm looking at him and I'm saying, I want to see what you got. Show me something. and just throw him out there. If he stinks, he stinks. But you got to know what you got.
And that would go to like the argument of like if you're Carter Smith, right, and you're letting who's there, and you're letting
Matador.
Yeah, like if you're letting Brandon Locke in there and he's getting like he looks horrible, he's missing guys, throwing picks. Like then if you're Carter Smith, you're like, oh well, if I don't win the starting job, I won't see it won't be based on performance. So like if Brandon Locke sucks the joint up, you know what I mean? Like you're 5-4, like there's nothing that you're not gonna compete for a college football playoff. Yeah, just shake it up. Like this season's a wash, basically. You know, if you win a bowl. I mean, it's not going to be. I'm just giving you the the reality of the situation. Like you gotta just shake it up at some point, right? That Iowa game was kind of a fork in the whole thing because you expect them to be competitive. I even picked them to win that game. Like I at times his teams look decent. It's just like the wheels have kind of fallen off here and there, and when they fall off, they kind of fall off hard. And if you're Carter Smith, like you're going to this game like, all right, let's see what the experience is like. Like if the crowd's out of it in the third quarter and jump around's like kind of non-existent, that takes a lot of wind out of the like. When James Franklin went over the recruits after the Ohio State game, they're probably thinking, oh, well, maybe I'll try and get into Ohio State because this team can never beat Ohio State. Like, those things do matter. Like, there's a psychological aspect to that. So, and these kids are I'm not going to say easily convinced, but, like, if you're getting just, bum rushed out there, it's not a good look for you got to want to be competitive in this game for more of, like, the big picture of it. Like, that's what college football is about. Is the recruiting aspect. Like there's so much that goes into this. You don't want guys transferring out. Like if the season gets even uglier, like you don't want any of those problems if you can avoid them.
And it's just what was the message after Penn State? You lost 28-13 to one of the better teams in the country. And then the next game out, you go and get steamrolled by Iowa. What was your message? What was your message after Penn State? Like, that wasn't like it was, it sucked because you were in that game. Without that pick six, I'm going to be honest with you, it might have ended 13-10. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, that's just the way that game was shaping up. Maybe it's 16-13. I don't know. But Penn State had nothing going for them until that point. So, I mean, what was the message after that game that led to this Iowa game? Because when you came out against Penn State, it was guns ablaze. And yes, you went conservative, but the defense was hot. They came out with their piss was hot, and they were ready to rock and roll. You came out in that Iowa game, and I couldn't even recognize the team on the field. I couldn't. They had some freshman linebacker in there, Allegro. I don't know if he's a freshman for sure. I'm pretty sure he's young. Either way, he's young. He's one of the young linebackers. He led the team in tackles. He was dynamic. But outside of that, everybody else stunk. I mean, Hallman's still good because nobody throws at him. But outside of that, everybody else kind of stunk in that game. And Hunter Wohler didn't even have a good game. So, I'm going back to Dustin's comment here where he says, if the Badgers get blown out by a lot, recruits will decommit and players will transfer. Things are toxic right now in the locker room. My cousin works on the staff. Tons of people want out. I mean, I can't speak of, comments coming out of locker room or anything like that. He did say that the team doesn't care. Braylon Allen said it himself. The players don't believe in Fickle or Longo. I can't speak for it because I haven't. I mean, like you're saying there, your cousin works in the locker room. Okay. I believe that your cousin works in the locker room and that's what he's saying and all that kind of stuff. I haven't seen anything that tells me that outside of what you're telling me right now. But what tells me that the locker room isn't a mess? Because after you lose a game like that to Penn State and you get the doors kicked off you by Iowa, I know it's hard to win in Kinnick. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to win at Iowa. But 42-10 at Iowa, what do you want me to believe? That this team is heading in the right direction? How do you believe that after getting stomped by... the Iowa game, they beat you by playing Wisconsin football. They ran the ball. They ran it straight ahead. They overpowered you in the trenches. That's how Wisconsin beat teams. And that's how they beat teams 42-10, was in the trenches. They just ran the ball. There was nothing that Iowa did that was like Penn State. Absolutely nothing. Nothing that Iowa did that Alabama did. Nothing that Iowa did like USC. Nothing. Nothing that Iowa did is going to look like Oregon did. There's no fast-paced crap. There's no dynamic quarterback. There's none of that. What do you have? A good running back. Don't get me wrong. Iowa's got a fantastic running back. They always have a great offensive line, right? They always do. But they have a terrible quarterback. Terrible. You got manhandled in the trenches. You got manhandled on both sides of the ball. It was ugly.
Well, what do you do? what I've noticed, I can speak to Penn State obviously because that's who I watch, but I think sometimes and I'm not gonna they are kids, but you can't. I mean, I guess you can make some excuse for them, right? But do you think it was we're gonna get up for the Penn State game, right? This is a top 5 team in the nation. They're coming to our building. We have a chance to pull a massive upset. We were in that game. Things went down, bad down the stretch, and it's like, do you think they went into Iowa okay, what? I'm not gonna say they went into it whatever, but they didn't have that. Once you get let down that,
100%. What you're saying right now, 100%.
They checked out. They checked because I've seen there were years where Penn State's undefeated, right? They lose one game, they lost in Iowa the one year, and Sean Clifford got injured, brought in the backup. It was the worst backup I've ever seen. A guy shouldn't even touch a football. I mean, a guy should not have he's wasting a roster spot. But anyways, they lose that game, then they go boom, they lose 2 of the next 3. They end up unranked. I think in the NFL, you drop a game or here or there, okay, whatever, on to the next. With the ranking system, and not just I know Wisconsin wasn't ranked, but that's a huge opportunity. Obviously, they weren't picked to win, but they were in that game. They were fighting their tails off. They lose in the fashion that they do. Then they're like, okay, we're still unranked. We have another loss. Maybe they go into Iowa okay, this season sucks. I mean, and to Brantley's point, maybe if there's turmoil in the locker room, now you don't want to play for the coach. Now the offensive coordinator, it's I don't know about this guy. I don't know about this. All those, when you're losing games, the issues become bigger. You lose a game, okay, you can win, and then the issues go away. You lose, and then you lose in the fashion you do. It's kind of it's a grenade into the whole locker room because now it's you're looking around. You don't trust this guy to step up. The quarterback's throwing picks. It's just where does it end? And obviously, you love that Oregon's coming to Camp Randall. I just think at home you gotta at least chemistry-wise figure it out. If Fickle is losing the locker room, I wouldn't be opposed to moving on. He hasn't done anything that you're impressed about. And then if you can't keep the locker room together, I know he's only been there a little bit of time, but it's if you lose the locker room, you lose. I was all in for Sirianni get fired already, and people, whatever. If you lose the locker room, what good are you? It's hard to bring that back. And then recruits are out the door. It's a domino effect. And now it's okay, where do we rein this in? And do we trust this guy once it goes south, it's really tough to get it back.
Yep. No, 100%. And Dustin, he says, the sad part is Mabry has outperformed Locke daily, but Fickle won't give him a shot. And then he says Locke threw 4 interceptions at practice. I didn't see anything about the practice thing. Well, he might have thrown. I would believe it. I would definitely believe it there. Brantley says struggled with interceptions this season, throwing at least 1 in all of his starts. Wisconsin cannot afford mistakes from Locke or anyone else in the offense to occur, as the Ducks and Gabriel have been lethal this season here. The more chances the Badgers give the Ducks on offense, the more likely it is that they will score and it will become out of hand. I agree. You got to keep Oregon on the side, their offense on the sideline as much as you can in this one. And how easy is that going to be? I have no idea. And you alluded to it perfect. We're not having this conversation if they come out against Iowa with their piss hot and they lose 15-6. We're not having this conversation. They came out hard. They looked like they were playing football. They just got beat. If you go out against Oregon and you look like you did against Penn State, where, I keep saying, your piss is hot, right? I mean, that's just how they played, right? I mean, they came out hot. Their hair was on fire. I mean, they had sandpaper on their butt and they were running through a forest. I mean, that's just how it was going. It's just they were playing it mattered, right? Just what you were alluding to there. It was playing like it mattered. And that Iowa game looked like it didn't matter anymore. It looked like it didn't care. It looked like there was no cares in the world off Wisconsin if they lost that game. And I don't want to say that was for everybody. I don't want to say that's what it was. But when you get manhandled like that on every facet of a football game and you knew what was coming and your defensive coordinator's running a nickel defense against a team that's trying to run the ball straight up the middle, you're already set up for failure. I don't know what else to say. You're already set up for failure at that point here. So you come into this one, there has to be a message that, maybe we lose this game. We accept that. But give me something. Show me something. Just if they come out hot and they just get beat because Oregon's the better team, okay, we walk away fine. But if they come into this game and they just look like they're defeated on the first drive, now we're having the same conversation about locker room. Now we're having the same conversation of Luke Fickell as a leader in the locker room and what he's building as a program here and what, Phil Longo's role should be, because I think it should be a garbage truck driver. But this is where we're at right now. He's the offensive coordinator at Wisconsin, making more money than all of us. And yet his playbook is about as big as this notepad that I have right here. And it's on one page. Like, that's his playbook right now. Like, man, oh man. Like, sometimes I sit here and I'm like, is it okay if we just go and apologize to Jim Leonard and just say, hey, dude, you want to come back to be the defensive coordinator for us at least? Because that'd be cool. Like, that'd be fine there. Dustin, he says, one last thing. He says, Badgers have no speed. Oregon is like watching a damn track meet. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's going to be Ricardo Hallman against the world. We're just going to hope that Ricardo Hallman can guard or be on every single receiver. And that's just how it's going to work right there. But hey, the nickel defense will probably work against Oregon because they will be chucking that ball around like no other there. So, Aaron, we ran past the hour 30 mark. We tried to hit the hour 30 mark. I said the Badger thing was going to be short. It wasn't short because I started to yell a little bit, but that's okay. Badgers got me hot right now. We're going to talk more about the Badgers and their game with Oregon here coming up on Friday on the show. So make sure you guys are all back for that one there. But Aaron, anything else you got to wrap us up for the day here?
I don't. There was one thing I saw. Now I can't remember what even it was about as we get, pretty far into the, almost 2 hour mark there. But no, I forget now. So it doesn't matter. It wasn't that important, obviously. But no, it was good to be back. And yeah, I mean, college football revs me up almost like no other. So even if it's the Badger, like, what I mean? Now I have a respect for the Big Ten, and I have no hatred towards the Badgers at all. So whenever we can get into that too, even though we went long, the comment section, I tip my cap to everybody in there. Kyle, freaking Brantley Gilbert was in there, but Dustin, like, everybody kept us like really engaged tonight. So that was cool to see too.
Yeah, it was a great show there. You guys can always find Aaron anywhere on social media out there, Brutally Honest Sports. You can find him across TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you want to find him there. He's got videos over there on TikTok talking about Penn State and all that kind of stuff there. So make sure you guys are checking him out across all social media platforms. You want to find the show here? We're podcast next day. So if you want to find us Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we do the live show here across Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Kick TV. And then if you want to find us next day, if you missed the show, you can find us Apple, Spotify, wherever it is. You can find us across those platforms there. Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. You can find us all those spots there. So with that, make sure you're back on Friday. We're going to preview the Badgers game with Oregon. We're going to look at the rest of the Big Ten slate and the rest of college football. We're going to look into the NFL. Packers got the Bears coming up this weekend. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to look into the rest of the NFL slate. Badger basketball will have that big game against Arizona coming up on Friday, so we're going to make sure to jump into that. So for Aaron and myself, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you guys back here on Friday. But until then, see ya.